Call an ambulance, quick. How can you be so slow? Suddenly, my neighbor, Sarah, barged into my room. This all started when Michael collapsed in the bathroom. Lately, Michael has been inseparable from his phone, no matter where he is in the house. Indeed, he even takes it with him to the bathroom, seemingly always in conversation with someone. Why the fact that Michael collapsed in the bathroom was immediately known to Sarah, who lives next door, is beyond me. Frankly, I don't see why I should be called slow by Sarah. I'm already in the know. Why Sarah is connected to Michael, and how she came to know about his collapse in the bathroom so quickly. Sarah and Michael might think their secret is safe, but there have been many suspicious instances in the past. It's quite comical that they're unaware the only ones who haven't noticed are themselves. I've turned a blind eye until now, but I've decided to put an end to it all here. They've taken my silence for granted and done as they pleased, but they will suffer just as I have. Of course, I plan to confront Michael, but naturally, I intend for Sarah to experience the same kind of suffering as I have. They shouldn't think they can get away with it silently. Now is the time to settle the betrayals of the past 13 years properly. My name is Linda, and I'm a 40-year-old housewife this year. I met my husband, Michael, through a mutual acquaintance. Given my age, I long to get married and build a warm family. It all started when an acquaintance suggested, just meet him, it won't hurt. At that time, I was focused solely on my career and hadn't had any meaningful encounters. Watching those around me get married, I wondered what life would be like with someone I truly loved. Thinking it wouldn't hurt to meet since it was free, I agreed, only to find an unexpected comfort in his presence. Not only did we share hobbies and topics of conversation, but the pace and rhythm of our dialogue were incredibly comforting. It felt as if we had known each other before, making me want to meet him again. Although I had dated a few men before, I had never been able to talk so freely and comfortably with anyone. My first impression of Michael was of someone considerate, who always put me first and supported me. It didn't take long for his constant kindness to captivate me. "Ah, Linda, I thought this would suit you." "What's this?" "It's neither my birthday nor our anniversary, but may I open it?" "Please, go ahead." Inside the box Michael handed me was a beautiful lemon yellow dress. It's lovely. I've never worn a dress like this before, so I'm not sure if it'll suit me. I'm certain it will look great on you, Linda. I'd love to see you try it on here. Here. That's a bit thrilling. I immediately tried on the dress. Yes, it fits perfectly. Just as I thought, it suits you. I'm so happy. Thank you. Michael looked at me contentedly, nodding his approval. Although he was kind, I occasionally caught glimpses of his stern side. This happened during work-related calls. Even during our dates, he would sometimes have to take calls, issuing instructions. I found myself admiring him as he managed these calls. Michael, it seems, holds a managerial position at his workplace, responsible even outside working hours. It must be tough to receive work calls even on your days off. Well, it's not too bad. But having inefficient subordinates can be quite a hassle. Oh. We should head to the restaurant, our reservation time is approaching. Laughing, we held hands and hurried to the restaurant. Linda, I've always wanted to marry a wonderful woman like you. Will you marry me? If you're okay with me, I'd be more than happy. I look forward to our future together. Marrying Michael, I felt an immense sense of happiness. However, I was soon to learn that this happiness was only fleeting. I intended to continue working as a nurse even after getting married. But the situation started to look ominous. It's about the household chores. I intend to keep working as before, even though we're married. When I have night shifts, could I possibly ask you to help out? Then, Michael's expression darkened. Night shifts, so you're planning to continue working? Yes, but, is that a problem? It's not that it's a problem, but the idea of a woman continuing to work even after getting married is a bit. Nowadays, it's not uncommon for both spouses to work. In fact, among my acquaintances, households where both spouses work hard are more common than those with a stay-at-home spouse. Even after hearing my explanation, Michael insisted that he wanted me to quit working after marriage, so I asked him why. Surely, Michael must have his reasons. Believing it's important for both spouses to compromise, I felt I had to ask. I've been coming home to a dark room and turning on the lights by myself. Michael, you've lived alone since graduating from college, right? Turning on the lights in that lonely room and realizing in that instant that I'm alone was unbearable. For a moment, I thought I saw a shadow cross Michael's face. I see. I've lived at home for a long time, but I guess living alone can make you feel that way. That's why I want you, Linda, to quit your full-time job. Of course, I'll earn enough to support us. I might even be promoted to director soon. Really? A promotion at this time is impressive, isn't it? He answered, scratching the tip of his nose sheepishly. When Michael feels shy or proud, he tends to scratch his nose and his breathing becomes heavier. He kept glancing over as if begging for more praise, so it must have been a pleasant moment for him. Michael has always prioritized his career, always putting work first, so being recognized at work must be an honor for him. Well, at my level, it's not a big deal. But among my peers, only a handful have made it to manager, so I guess I've advanced quite quickly. Haven't I? Michael boasted, and I felt torn beside him. Sensing my hesitation, Michael leaned in close and said, "You wouldn't cling to your job when your husband is humbling himself and asking, would you?" I was speechless at this expression of Michael's I had never seen before. It was unbelievable, but I instinctively felt I shouldn't meet his eyes any longer, a strange feeling indeed. After being told so much, I had no choice but to quit. I wanted to continue a bit longer, but out of love for my husband, I decided to quit. The life of a full-time housewife, which started simultaneously with marriage, was harder than I thought. I thought being a housewife meant doing household chores at home, but it was too busy. Taking advantage of me being a full-time housewife, Michael stopped doing any household work altogether. Since the house is like a workplace for women, isn't it wrong to just rush through your tasks to enjoy your free time? When Michael said that with a strong tone, I couldn't talk back. I would prepare breakfast to match Michael's waking time and assist with his preparations for leaving, and by the time he returned at night, I had to have dinner ready, along with the bath and cleaning done. "Michael. Dinner's ready. Coming." He moved leisurely to the table and sat down, then sighed deeply after looking around. "You know I had a business dinner last night, so I drank, right?" "Yes, I thought it might have been a business dinner since you came back late, but what about it?" "If I drank at a business dinner, it should be obvious I'd want a fruit smoothie for breakfast, right?" "I'm sorry, I didn't consider that." Then, Michael tapped on the table and stared at me in silence. Michael is particular, and if anything deviates from his preferences, he makes it known strongly. "Hey, is this vase supposed to be here?" He pointed to a perfectly ordinary vase placed next to the TV stand. Michael said having flowers at home brightens up the place, so I bought this vase thinking it would be nice. I haven't exactly decided where to place the vase, but was there some issue with its current location? The vase? I moved it a bit because it was obstructing the view of the TV. Then Michael clicked his tongue and glared at me. From my seat, this angle makes the vase block the view of the painting. How can you cover up a masterpiece with flowers? What were you thinking? Putting your TV viewing above everything else is so selfish. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. Try to understand how I feel, being with such a selfish woman. He kept berating me persistently. Listening to him endlessly talk about how inadequate I am made me strongly believe I'm a failure. Linda, you've always lived at home and only worked as a nurse, so you might not understand, but society isn't that kind. To only see things through the lens of the medical world. When Michael says this, I start to worry that maybe my perspective is too narrow, and this narrowness is causing inconvenience to Michael. Talking about being a doctor or a nurse, in the end, you're just a frog in a well. Yes, I suppose. I've been working at the same company for 30 years since graduating from college, so I'm good at sensing these things. I'll teach you from now on. So be more attentive. Honestly, working as a nurse was far better than this. His constant nagging can last for 2 to 3 hours at a time. If I show even a slight sign of annoyance, it's back to square one with the lecturing, so I can't even afford to look displeased. All I focused on was how to give answers that would satisfy Michael and nod as if I was listening. While I can just nod along to Michael's sarcasm, there's been another issue that has been troubling me for some time. It's the presence of Sarah, who lives next door. She seems to be thriving as an influencer, and I can hear her streaming late into the night. Despite the apartment having fairly good soundproofing, the noise suggests she must be broadcasting at a considerable volume. Just after moving here 13 years ago, I was troubled by this noise and warned her 2 or 3 times. Even now, thinking back to those times irritates me. Since those warnings, she seems to have marked me as an enemy. Every time we pass by each other, she clicks her tongue at me. While it's become routine, the accumulation of such encounters still upsets me. Do you know anything about the person next door? Michael looked puzzled as he looked at me. What's up with the neighbor? Don't tell me you're having a neighbor dispute or something. Spare me that. No, not a dispute, but it's just so noisy. I was wondering if something could be done. I don't really think so. Just make sure you don't confront the neighbor directly. Saying that, Michael ended the conversation as if it were final, chugging down his beer. I haven't brought it up since then. Michael often returns home late due to his busy work schedule. I try to stay up for him, but sometimes I end up falling asleep. One night, I thought I heard Michael's voice and assumed he was home, but I was too sleepy to get up. I need to get up, or Michael will get angry. Thinking this, I got up, but Michael was nowhere to be seen. Didn't Michael come home? I could clearly hear Michael's voice, but where was it coming from? Listening closely, the voice seemed to be coming from next door. Why would Michael's voice be coming from the neighboring room? It sounded like he was conversing with someone. Could it be with Sarah? Checking the clock, it was past 1 a.m. Why would Michael and Sarah be together at this time? Feeling uneasy, I decided to use some money I had saved from working to hire a detective. I never imagined I would one day hire a detective. Then, something completely unexpected came to light. However, I feel it's not yet the right time to confront Michael with this evidence alone. As the year was ending, I had a bad feeling. With the year-end wrap-up and the upcoming long holiday, there was an unpredictable element to what might happen. The start of each day felt a bit heavier than usual due to the break from my routine. On a particular year-end, Michael came home a bit early from work, seeming in a good mood. He appeared to have been drinking, his expression relaxed. Lately, he had been tense and often snapped at me, so I felt a bit relieved to see him like this. Welcome home. You're home early today, Michael. Yeah, it was the last day of work for the year, so I had a few drinks with my colleagues. I see. Then, while looking at the refrigerator, Michael asked for more alcohol. Hey, I'm not satisfied yet. Bring me something to drink. It was good for me that he was in a good mood, but his face was already quite red, clearly having had quite a bit to drink. Your face is all red. Don't you think you've had a bit too much? Too much? Are you saying I can't hold my liquor? Drinking is part of being a working adult, I can't be weak. Saying so, he chugged the beer he was holding. It's not like he particularly enjoys beer. He used to boast about his tolerance, but I've had to pick him up from bars countless times. Drinking heavily, that's what being a working adult is all about, he would say arrogantly, but he always ended up being overwhelmed by alcohol. And I was the one who had to take care of him in the end. I've worked up a sweat drinking for the first time in a while. I think I'll take a shower before bed. Saying that, he headed to the bathroom with his phone in hand. He never used to take his phone to the bathroom, but lately, he never lets it out of his sight, even at home. He even takes it to the toilet, so maybe there's something he really doesn't want seen. Wondering why he's taking his phone to the bathroom, I decided to keep an eye on the situation. From the bathroom Michael entered, I could hear the sound of him talking on the phone. He was speaking softly, so I couldn't hear the details, but I wondered what was so important that he had to talk about it in the bathroom. Then, there was a loud noise from the bathroom. Startled, I went to check and found Michael curled up in the bathtub, looking in pain. He regained consciousness just in time to struggle out of the tub, then collapsed, apparently unconscious. For now, I quickly checked Michael's condition. At that moment, someone started pounding on the door. The knocking was so forceful I thought the door might break. It's a rental, and having someone break the door isn't something to laugh about. I'd rather not have that happen. Especially at such a critical time. Who could it be at this time? Yes, I'm a bit busy right now. When I opened the door, there was Sarah. Move. You're in the way. I couldn't understand why Sarah would show up at this moment. Ignoring my confusion, she pushed past me and headed straight for the bathroom. Wait, hold on. Mikey. What happened? Mikey. I was impressed in a different way that she could so casually enter someone else's house at a time like this. I could never just barge into the house of someone I was having an affair with. Ignoring me standing there dumbfounded, Sarah started taking charge of the situation. She was commanding the scene as if she were the wife, which was bizarre to behold. "Call an ambulance, quick. How can you be so slow?" I couldn't just let Sarah do as she pleased. There was only one thing I needed to do, confront Sarah with reality. I just stood there, looking down at the two of them. "Call an ambulance? Do you think you're in a position to order me around?" "What do you mean?" "Just what I said. Do you think you have the right to instruct me, his wife?" Seemingly unable to believe I had talked back, she looked as if a pigeon had been hit by a pellet. "Is it really so strange for me to talk back? If you're so concerned, why don't you call the ambulance yourself?" "No. That's a bit. I can't, so I'm asking you, aren't I? Think a little." She suddenly became defensive. Of course, she would. Being the other woman and barging into the house without any regard, it would be embarrassing if others found out. She's probably afraid of the affair being exposed through a phone call. While Michael lies collapsed in front of her, she hesitates, unable to make the call. I couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity. "What do you mean you can't even make a phone call? So that's all you amount to, then?" Reacting to my words, Sarah yelled. "What do you mean that's all? Are you mocking the pure love between Mikey and me? It's terrifying how a mere affair partner could be so deluded into thinking their relationship is pure love. They're so blinded by their own affair that they can't see anything else, which is enviable in a way, but this isn't the time for such thoughts. Having an affair with someone's husband and calling it pure love is laughable. If you're genuinely concerned about Michael, making a call should be no big deal. So, you should be able to do it, right?" I waved my phone in front of her, challenging her to make the call. If she were truly in a position to contact someone without issue, she would be able to do it. Sarah, infuriated by being challenged, glared at me furiously with a flushed face. Perhaps awakened by our voices, Michael regained consciousness. Still groggy from being unconscious, he seemed to be in considerable pain even after waking up. Struggling to speak, he managed to get out. "My head is pounding, feels like it's going to split open." "Call an ambulance." His expression twisted in apparent agony. Seeing him so unlike his usual confident self, I said. "It's painful, isn't it? We should call for help, it's unsettling, isn't it? What are you stating the obvious for? Hurry up." "Yes, we should do something quickly, shouldn't we?" Ignoring Michael's words, I decided to take a specific action. I left the house without a word, glancing at Michael writhing in pain. I also took the waterproof bag with Michael's phone in it, so he couldn't use his phone to contact anyone. Michael and Sarah, relieved that he had woken up, seemed to be content confirming their love for each other. They had already entered their own little world, not even noticing that I had taken the phone. I couldn't deal with this foolish cheating couple any longer. Taking this opportunity, I decided to leave the house quickly. I immediately contacted James, Sarah's boyfriend, after leaving the house. James is her boyfriend, with whom she has been in a relationship with the intention of marriage, and he stays over about half the week. It could be considered semi-cohabitation, so I've run into him a few times in the hallway or at the trash disposal area. He works at a nearby hospital, and I remembered he had given me his business card once. "Good evening. I apologize for calling so late. It seems Sarah has come to my place for some reason. Could you come pick her up? Linda? It's been a while. Sarah is at your place." "What do you mean by that?" James's voice on the other end sounded confused. "Naturally. Anyone would be surprised to receive a sudden call from their girlfriend's neighbor in the middle of the night. I'll explain the details later. Are you at work right now, James?" "No, I just finished work and was killing time at a nearby diner. Sarah said she had a live stream today and wanted me to come back late. So, Sarah had made arrangements to keep James away from her apartment. While he was away, she was casually talking to Michael on the phone. Can you come soon? I'll head there right away. Let's meet at the entrance. Thank you. I'll join you there." 3 minutes after making the call, James arrived at the apartment's entrance, so we went to my room together. I briefly explained the situation to him as we walked from the entrance to my room. To put it bluntly, it seems that Michael and Sarah have been having an affair for many years. What do you mean? I found out through an investigation I had someone conduct. But it seems they met at a bar where Sarah worked 13 years ago and have been involved ever since. Hearing my words, James was holding his head in shock. 13 years? Since that long ago? Yes. 2 years ago, the apartment next to ours happened to be vacant, and it seems she moved in then. You're kidding, right? Then what am I? Aren't we supposed to get married? James was overwhelmed by the sudden revelation and the fact that he had been cheated on. It's understandable, considering he was serious about marrying someone who, unbeknownst to him, was having an affair with a married neighbor. It's about money, it seems. I suspected my husband was having an affair and hired a detective to investigate. And that's what the report indicated. I can't believe this. Michael collapsed while he was in the bath, and at that moment, Sarah barged into our apartment. It seems they were on the phone even while he was in the bath. James seemed to be pondering something, then suddenly turned to me. So that's why she never let go of her phone. But you said Michael collapsed? Is he okay? He's collapsed, but I've made sure it's nothing life-threatening. In short, he drank too much. After briefly explaining, I took James with me to my room. As we entered the room quietly, Michael and Sarah were still engaged in their charade. I'll stand against the world for Mikey. With such a beautiful person loving me, I'm truly blessed. This must be a trial given by God to reach true love. The time it took for me to leave the room, contact James, and return was only about 10 minutes. However, within that short time, it seemed a grand narrative had unfolded. It was shocking how they could spout such cheesy lines. Pretending to be a tragic couple unable to vow eternal love due to unfortunate circumstances. Glancing at James next to me, he had an indescribable expression. The cheesiness seemed to be making him shiver uncontrollably. Unable to bear it any longer, James accidentally dropped his bag, and that's when the two finally noticed us. What's going on here? James? Why are you here? The fact that both of them were naked added a layer of absurdity to the situation. Why am I here? That's my line. You said there was a live stream and not to come back at the usual time. Was it all for this? The usually calm James raised his voice, surprising Sarah a bit. Well, you know. That's because, well, you know how troublesome fans can be. If they found out I had a boyfriend. Sarah's eyes were darting around, avoiding direct eye contact. James, who I had briefly spoken with in the hallway or at the trash area, was not the type to raise his voice. From how calmly he listened when I explained everything to him, it was clear he was someone who could control his emotions well. For James to react this strongly, it must have been a significant betrayal. Enough with making a fool out of someone. You've been sneaking around with the guy next door for 13 years? Suddenly cornered, Sarah's eyes flitted around in panic. Well, I thought maybe you would be the one I'd marry. Is that so wrong? Her attempt to look up pitifully was clearly ineffective on James. We were supposed to get married someday, and we were practically living together. I can't believe you anymore. Seeing James's angry face seemed to bring Sarah back to her senses, and she quickly tried to change her tune. No, it's not what it looks like. I was just teaching him the ins and outs of streaming. Like personal training, you know? That's what's in demand these days. It seemed Sarah thought we knew nothing about influencers or streaming, and was trying to confuse the issue with irrelevant details. But James wasn't going to let her off the hook. Personal training? Have you already forgotten what you were saying just now? I decided to play the cheesy lines I had secretly recorded at full volume. Hey! You recorded this without me knowing? That's a violation of privacy. Delete it right now. Privacy? You, of all people, shouldn't talk about privacy. Naturally, we're getting a divorce. Michael seemed flustered, not having expected me to bring up divorce. Divorce? How do you plan to live without me? Talking about divorce when you've been living off me, have you lost your mind? Did he expect me to cry and beg him? He seems to think he's in a superior position as a man, unable to believe the current situation. It's curious where such absolute confidence comes from, but to me, it no longer matters. Say whatever you want. You can only act tough for now. Eventually, Michael and I got divorced. Following the incident, I immediately sought a lawyer specializing in divorce and infidelity issues and provided the evidence and videos. Incidentally, Sarah, who lived next door, also broke off her engagement with James and now seems to be living a secluded life. This is partly due to her streaming content going viral. Right after the affair with Michael came to light, her suggestive posts were analyzed by her fans. Fans have a keen eye, identifying details from subtly reflected images in a telephone pole or pin badge, to the point of astonishment. These hints in her posts and other details led to the revelation of her affair and relationship with Michael. The scandal even reached Michael's workplace due to a barrage of calls, exposing the affair there as well. Michael's company took the matter seriously, and he was fired. The company must have wanted to rid itself of the trouble. Understandably so. The affair with a well-known influencer, especially as a married employee of a prominent corporation, was heavily criticized as unacceptable. The company's stock even dropped when the affair became public, so they couldn't just overlook the situation. He says it's hard being the target of pointed fingers, making it difficult to go outside, but it's his own doing. Just stepping outside leads to being pointed at as the washed-up influencer, with posts appearing on bulletin boards. So he must not dare to venture out carelessly. I encountered Sarah just once after the whole fiasco. She appeared as if lying in wait when I was shopping at a drugstore near my workplace. How can you be living comfortably with a large sum of money while I'm suffering so much? Isn't that absurd? It's typical of her to make such outrageous accusations. There's nothing absurd about it. It's all the result of your actions, so I have nothing to say to you. And what right do you have to act all high and mighty? Because of you, my engagement is ruined. She approached me as she spoke. I was almost married to a doctor, and you ruined it. Give me a break. I don't understand how you can continue an affair and betray your fiancé while going after someone else's husband. You might want to be more cautious about your future actions. What do you know? You're quite the topic on the internet right now. If someone saw this, it might just end up online again. With that, Sarah adjusted her hood to cover her face more and quickly walked away. Since separating from Michael, I've been enjoying my life alone. Living at my own pace is the best. I've returned to my job as a nurse, keeping busy every day. There's a saying about old skills, but it seems my body remembers, and I can manage quite a bit. Though there was a time I wondered how things would turn out, now I consider living my days to the fullest as my form of revenge. Having forgotten about Michael and Sarah,